The Diesel Podcast,
Developing innovation in English as a second or other language.
Episode 97, Self-Empowered Language Learning, interview with student and teacher Mahmoud.
Welcome to Diesel. This is episode 97. We are your hosts. I'm Brent Warner.
And I'm Michelle Reyes. Hey, Brent, it
Hello.
is 2024,
It is.
and here we are, 3 episodes closer to 100.
We're getting there. We're going to get there soon before you know it.
Yeah, before you know it. Oh my goodness. Well, by how long do you have left in Japan?
I still have 7 months or so, so still a while. I'll be here
Okay.
until end of July or early August, kind of pushing it to the
Okay.
limit. So kind of trying to explore our way, around the southern
Mm-hmm.
side. I think I mentioned that before, and yeah, then otherwise trying to kind of buckle down on work a little bit as well, and make sure I'm working on my project, which we will talk about very soon.
Woohoo. So, we've had a couple of student guests before on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And today I'm super excited because we have a guest who's, I guess, a student, but also a teacher.
Mm.
And so I'm going to introduce Mr. Mahmoud Abukhalaf, also known as Polaris. He is a diligent and ambitious English instructor who recently became a full time ESL instructor for the Language Institute of the Jordanian Armed Forces. This happened after serving in the artillery field as a fire chief and a field interpreter and translator during joint exercises over the last 10 years. So that's a whole decade, and that's a lot more experience in areas that I can't even imagine myself in. He is quite skilled with a lot of leadership qualifications, having spent time in different U.S. military bases like Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Bliss, Texas, and Fort Benning, Georgia. And I have had the pleasure of having him in my methodology course as an instructor of English. So,
Awesome.
Polaris.
Welcome, Polaris.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Ixchell, and thank you, Mr. Brent. Thank you for having me here, and I'm super excited to share my experience. And this is going to be one of the things I would never forget about being here in the US as a student of Miss Ixchell's class. It's been a great pleasure to learn from her.
Excellent. Yeah. We're glad to have you for sure. And it's kind of cool to see this is a unique relationship here because
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about this transition. You're already a teacher. You're coming through as like teacher training on some levels, going into colleague level. So I
Uh,
kind of like where this is going.
Actually, I used to be an instructor, but like not for language, as like in the artillery, I used to be an instructor for the equipment that
Oh,
we worked on. And during that time, I went to the university and studied translation and English literature. And when I graduated, I get the chance to be transferred to the Language Institute. That's where I began to become an English instructor as a second language.
So there's a couple of things I forgot. And so I want to make sure that I did call you Polaris.
Yeah.
And I want to start with how you got that nickname, because that's what I'm going to call you for the rest of the show, if that's okay.
Okay. So, as you mentioned, my name is Mahmoud Abukhalaf, and I'm from Jordan. My tribe or my family name, we come from the north of Jordan, from a city called Ajlan. There was one night when I was in Ajlan with my family. It was like a clear sky night, and we were sitting outside. My father just told me to look up in the sky, and he asked me which one is the brightest star you see right there. And I told him that's one, and he said, "You know what it's called?" I told him the name in Arabic, and it was like Najm al-Shamal in Arabic. And he said, "Well, you know, that's you. You are from the north, and you are a star, and you are the brightest one. So keep being like that. And since then, I Googled it, like what is Najm Shamal in Arabic? What is it in English? I went to Wikipedia until I found the name Polaris. I went back to my father and I told him, you know, Najm Shamal means Polaris in English. And he said, okay, just go with it. You are Polaris.
Oh, I want to cry already.
Yeah, that's I'm like, oh, geez. That's a wonderful story.
That is a
So thank
wonderful
you, sir.
story.
Thank you.
So, Polaris, you mentioned that you were an instructor before, but I'm really curious as to, I guess your journey as a language student, and maybe just tell us a little bit about that. How you went from, and I again, I don't know if you were already speaking English or how that
Yeah,
happened, because not everybody gets to make that transition from to
yeah, sure.
language teacher.
Like for me, I consider myself that I was lucky enough in the past. In high school, I had some really good teachers that I also would never forget. Like back in 2009, 2010, before I even joined the military, my teachers were very good. And in high school, when I got my scores, I was shocked as everybody else that I scored in English more than in any other subject, like more than even Arabic. So so I was telling everyone that I really like that, and I found myself really interested in English. I watched a lot of movies and I've been listening to a lot of songs, you know, not the hip hop or the pop, like the romantic ones, like Bob Marley. You can say like Whitney Houston songs, Adele, something that I can understand as an Arabic speaker. And one of my favorite songs of all time is Hotel California by Eagles. So with songs, I start to practice to pronounce English better. And then my father just told me to go ahead and go to the university. I tried to apply in my second time in the army, but it was like there were regulations that you cannot go to university unless you serve for at least 6 years. So
Mm.
I postponed that dream for like 4 days, for 4 years. And during these 4 years, I kept working on myself, like on a personal level. I kept reading books, novels, and watching more movies, like Lord of the Rings. I know all about it. Uh, Braveheart, my favorite movie. Until I get the chance to actually apply for the university. And before I got my confirmation for university, there was a course that I took in here in 2011. I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So one of the reasons that made me stick to my goal and really wanting to complete and accomplish this, and this one will make you very happy, and it's very shocking for you, Mr. Brett. I went to a Subway restaurant here in San Antonio. I remember that in 2011, and I wanted lettuce in my sandwich.
Mhm.
I ordered a sandwich, and I wanted lettuce. I was like behind the glass, give me lettuce. But I didn't know the word lettuce in English, and the lady made me the sandwich, and she didn't put lettuce in it, and I ate the sandwich, like thinking, oh, why couldn't I ask for lettuce? I was asking for the word in Arabic, khas, but she was like, what is khas? I don't understand. What do you want? And because I was pointing from behind the glass, she kept putting more olives and more tomatoes and more onions, like anything but not lettuce. So that really stayed with me for a long time. Like if I couldn't have lettuce on my sandwich, how could I survive in a new environment? How could I like just walk around and acting like I know the language like a
Mm.
native speaker? I know I would never be a native speaker, but at least I would try to learn. And that situation encouraged me to go back and also pursue my dream. So I tried it my education, started my education like in 2017 it was when I started. And also in university, I kept pushing myself to the limit. Like in the first year, I remember in the first semester, I met a student. She was like a senior student, like about to graduate, and she was very upset. She had something to talk about, but no one to talk with. And I asked her, what is going on? And she said, we started the idea of the English club, and we've been working in the English club for the university, and now we are graduating, and there's no one interested into continuing our idea for the English club. And I told her, okay, tell me more about it. And she said, in the English club, we learn with fun, with activity, just like the way we learn with you, Miss Ishe. We will have activities away from the
What fun?
curriculum, away.
What? I follow the curriculum. What are you talking
Uh,
about?
I know. I mean, some activities like the three
Three,
six
six,
nine and
nine.
these things. Yeah. So she explained to me that if you want to learn, you don't have to be in a classroom. You could be with a friends
Mm.
and outside with a group, talking, making a discussion with the groups. So I took that and I went to the dean of my faculty and I told him I want to be in the English club. And he told me, well, all members of the English club are graduated or about to graduate, so it will be only you. And I told him, okay, give me some time, I will get you students. And from there, I created a Facebook page, called it English Club of Zarkia University, my university, and I started encouraging my friends. And by the time I graduated, I had 350 students
Jeez.
in,
So,
yeah,
so
in
he
the
built a
English
whole
club.
English club.
That's amazing.
And I had like about 20 students who were like top in their classes who could actually teach other students. Like
Wow.
we used to have kinds of sessions like a grammar session, a story session, tell a story session, share a fact, share anything. So in the grammar sessions, like we used to put them where it's about mid-semester when exams are about to come and everybody is worried about their grammar. I would bring one of the good students, put him or her in a classroom, and tell him or her, okay, you have to like talk about the present perfect. And she would talk, and groups of students will come in and out listening to her. And actually, that somehow made some of the instructors, like the professors in the university, mad. Like, no one is coming to us. Where where are my students? And they're all with Polaris in the library or in some other class.
Well,
So
this
I
is
want to tell them I'm sorry if they listen to that. I want to tell them I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
this is great though, Pilar. So I'm hearing two things, and I love that the lettuce story first. So
Yeah.
with the lettuce story, you're kind of saying, and this is I think important. I think a lot of modern educators are so worried about making every experience positive, or so it's got to be positive. There can't be any problems and things like that. But
Exactly. Like
actually, yeah. Well, I'm saying
actually, like when I thought about it, it was very simple and very hard at the same time.
right. And so that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is like a failure, you're kind of saying in that side you're talking about like failures, right? Failures in the
Hmm.
ability to do something it is a huge motivating factor for people, right? And so you're
Hmm.
saying, hey, hold on a
Hmm.
second. Now, of course, we're speaking with no problem. And and so when you're talking about 12 or 13 years ago, right? This huge change that you went through from a small failure but important to you, and then you switch it to the other story and you're talking about having fun with the game. So I like this combination of failure
Hmm.
and fun as ways to succeed in a language, right? Because
Exactly.
both of these build
And
up together.
and also during my time in university, I was still in the artillery corps. My commander used to say, "Okay, we have an exercise with U.S. Troops, and you study English, so you'll be the translator." So they would just put me in the middle of the situation. I would have exams in university, working with exercises, going out to the desert, like shooting missiles, coming back, typing and working. And it was a very heavy load for me, but I looked at it as an opportunity to take more and more of the language, because I believe that if I want to learn the language, I cannot do that if I don't speak to the people who actually have the language, the native speakers. So having American soldiers in our units, it was very beneficial for me, and it was me always jumping and saying, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go. Even if I knew that it was going to be very heavy, like some days I remember that my mind was going to explode, like having a lot of things, final exam in university and an exercise here, like two different words, two different environments, like being a university student, but at the same time being a soldier who is shooting missiles with and exercises and trying to take the language from here to apply it here. Finally, I like in my last semester, I got to graduate with excellence. I graduated with 92, and after that, my commander, also in the artillery, he kind of put my name forward for being transferred to the language institute, and he said, I have this one. He's very competent, and I thank him for that again. And they took me. They took me like last November, like about, you can say, 6 to 7 months before I come here to the US for the Basic class.
So I want to rewind just a little bit before we start talking about you transitioning into a language teacher. So I heard you saying that you took every opportunity that they offered. You volunteered and you it's like you took initiative. And I've always been curious, again, particularly for speakers of Arabic coming to learn English. It's quite a it's just difficult, very difficult, different writing system, lots of new sounds and a lot to take in. What would you say encouraged you, or when you faced those difficulties, or maybe other students around you? Because Brent and I have both taught Arabic speakers, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, for me, what encouraged me the most is the environment that surrounded me. Everybody, like, I was lucky enough, as I said before, that I had a lot of support from my surrounding people in work or in university or even at home. Like whenever I had an exam for like the translation or the interpretation, I remember my brothers and sisters, they stood with me and they said, you know what, today we will not talk to you only in English. So if you don't speak in English, no one will talk to you, and you
Mm.
don't get to have the remote control for the TV. You will be sitting on the corner, no one will talk to you. And I said, okay, and that really encouraged me. And also, I have an uncle and some relatives who live in another city from where I live. And in between, in the middle, there is the ancient city of Jerash. I don't know if Mr. Brett went there.
I did
So
not have a
in
chance to go there.
Jerash, we have a lot of tourists, foreigner tourists, English speakers who go there. So anytime I get a chance to go there, I would just be like someone drop me on the street. I would wait for a family, like if I see them like American or like a British family, Australian family, anyone who speaks English, I would kindly stop them for a moment. Like it will be about 8 a.m. I would go to them and tell them, hey, I'm sorry for interrupting. My name is Mahmoud, and I'm a student of English and translation and literature, and I would like to improve my language and my proficiency. And can I have a chance to join you and spend the day with you? At the same time, I would show you the place and I would show you the things that you don't know. I'll tell you some information and take you to good places. Like if you want to go to a restaurant, if you want to go to a good market, I can help you with that. And everybody was very shocked that this young man is willing to do this just to learn the language. And I have spent days like from 8 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m.
Oh my
like
goodness.
just in the historic area
Giving
in the
around tours.
Free
yeah,
tours.
giving
Free tours.
giving giving free tours just because I wanted to hear the language from the people who spoke it, and I wanted to improve my listening before I improve my speaking, because I knew that if I listen good and clearly, I would be able to speak even clearly,
That's
and
amazing.
that
Yeah.
really helped me.
So I actually had an experience similar to that when I was in Beijing when I was a college age. And I was unsure. Like, at first, I love your approach there because you're kind of telling what's going on at the beginning and saying like, "Hey, I'm a student. I'm trying to learn these things," because that helps people feel a little safer, like it's not a scam of some sort, right? And
Yeah,
maybe
some of them would look at you like, "What is going? Is he going to
right,
rob me
right.
or something?"
And I had that. So when I was in China, these two people, a man and a woman, or boy and a girl, they were college age as well, and they came up to us and started talking, and I wasn't sure what was going on, but they really wanted that exact same thing. They're like, no, we're just trying to practice English because we don't get any English practice in most of China, right? And so we have to kind of go out and be proactive. I don't know what happened to those people, but I'm sure it's that same attitude of like I'm gonna go for it. Like it's
Yeah,
not just gonna come to me. I have to go and get it, right? And so
yeah,
so I really appreciate that angle, and I think a lot of students have this expectation, well, it's at some point it's just gonna come to me. It's like, no, 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 no. I gotta go get it.
it actually it all started from that student I told you about, the one who was the head of the president of the
English club.
English club before me. When I had that conversation with her, she said something I also like. For me, I always go with details, with attached with details, like things, little things would affect me, would take me to another level. I told her, "Why are you worried?" And she said, "No one wants to break their glass wall."
Mm,
And I stood there. What is a glass wall? What are you talking about? She said, all of them have the vocabulary, all of them have studied grammar, all of them know how to use it, but no one wants to use it. There's a glass wall between you and speaking to the other side, talking to someone. And this glass wall, if you break it, you just go ahead and open your wings and fly with the language. Even if you do mistakes, even if you commit mistakes. Like right now, as we're speaking, I've done a lot of mistakes, but at least I talk, I speak, I try. Uh, One of the mistakes I always do is the difference between the sound pa and ba,
mm.
because we don't have pa in Arabic. So I just said speaking instead of speaking. So for you guys it might sound weird, but for me I'm just trying to like produce more language as much as possible, because I just want to that glass wall to be broken between me and the other side.
Another moment where I'm just like clutching my heart and trying to hold back tears. But Polaris, that reminds me a lot of and Brent, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before, but when I was in Taiwan, of course, it's a very high stakes testing in English type of culture, as many of the Asian cultures are, and a lot of the students they would want to talk only to the native speakers, but there's of course not a lot of native speakers available, so they would say, well, we don't have native speakers. We really need a native speaker to be able to speak better. And I found this one kid, and he's probably 18 or 19. So he was really just a kid, but he spoke so well. And I just thought, how I asked him, how did you learn? Because he didn't study overseas. And he said, well, a lot of my friends say we need a native speaker, but how are you going to find a native speaker in this country? And the only thing you can do if you don't have that environment is to create that environment for yourself. So I went on YouTube and I started playing video games and started to talk to native speakers, through the collaboration in videos and games. And that's how he did it. And he said he would challenge himself to just one hour speak only English, which is very hard when everybody else is speaking a language. So Polaris, you're reminding me of how important it is to remind yourself that when that environment isn't there, you can change that environment. You can
Yeah,
influence what happens and to what extent it happens.
actually, it is possible for anyone. Like I know that my story is not that great. There are much bigger stories where people really did a complete change for a whole society or a whole neighborhood or something like that. But at least if you try to give, you will get something in return. That is for sure. And for the surrounding environment, I always say we have a saying in Arabic. It says, "Surround yourself with the best to be better."
Mm.
So whenever you feel like you don't have the ability, you don't have the courage to do something, just go and be with someone who can, and just watch them, look at them, what they do, or just listen to them, and you will learn from them. If not directly, indirectly, like one way or another, you will learn. Another saying we have that I would like to apply to the language learning process. I don't promote that, but like the what is saying literally, because it says if you never had an accident, you are not a good driver.
Mm.
So I'm not telling people to go and have accidents. It just like when you look at it, like if you had a failure, if you had a bad experience, that will teach you, and that will tell you what to avoid in the future and where to go exactly.
That's I'm thinking of all the Texas drivers right now saying
I'm a great driver.
I'm
I've
a
been
great
I've been in 20 crashes.
so as I said earlier, Polaris is now a language teacher. I mean, in addition to being a translator and all of that, I guess one of the reasons why I thought you would be a great guest is because you really make an effort in engaging students. And so I kind of want to shift over to that and maybe talk a little bit about that, maybe challenges or what you look for in order to also motivate Arabic speakers, your students, and maybe or the reality of teaching a language and for you, I suppose.
I mean, when it comes to challenges, of course, everybody faces challenges. I faced a lot of challenges. I cannot count them. But when I try to come over them, I would do it one by one, like eliminate your challenges one by one. I try to work hard, but also try to stay concentrated. I try to stay focused on your goal. Like if you just run and you want to do everything at once, you will be tired, of course. You will be exhausted and you will give up. You will say, okay, I cannot do this anymore. Like there are many challenges for the Arabic students, for the Arabic speakers. As I said, one of them is that uh, the language itself has different sounds from Arabic. Like, for example, the pa and the v. Also, we don't have the sound v. So, for some students who are from Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, they might find it easy, but someone from Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, they will find it even hard because while they both speak Arabic, but also the dialects they play a good role in the teaching or the learning process. And also some of the challenges, I would say the distances between the Arab world and like North America or Europe. Not everyone has a chance to travel. Not
Mm.
everyone
That's
has
right.
a chance. Not everyone has a chance to stay awake or up like until 2 or 3 a.m. to just watch a lecture, a live lecture in some university in Europe or here in the US. So the distance plays a good or a great part. and also the grammatical structure. In Arabic, we put the verb, then the subject, and then we continue. But in English, you will have the subject and then the verb. Uh, George went to the store. In Arabic, ذهب جورج إلى المكان. So it starts with the verb. So I find some students, especially when I taught like the basic level students, why would you say it like that? It's like that. They think that the
Mhm.
grammar structure is applied or is like stiff for all of the languages.
Mm.
But it's no one, not everyone understands that it's different from one language to another. You cannot just take things like word for word. Like this word is a medical document. I cannot say medical طبي and document ملف طبي ملف. No, in Arabic it's ملف طبي, like document medical. It's the
Mhm.
opposite. So if people start to understand that, it will make also even easier. Another challenge I see it that Arabic is, I find it a very poetic, sensitive language, like very high level, deep, full, full of like intonations, full of images, full of everything. When you look at the language of the Holy Quran and the language that Prophet Muhammad spoke and his companions spoke, it's very unique nowadays for the dialects in the Arabic countries. Not everyone can master this language, which is the original Arabic. It's almost like you can say 60% of it is not used unless you are reading from the Quran or reading a novel or like reading a newspaper. You cannot have the standard Arabic in the streets. Like when you go to the streets in Amman city in Jordan, it's different from Aqaba city from the south. And
Mhm.
also when you go to the streets in Jordan, it's different from when you go to Egypt or different from when you go to
Mm-hmm.
Yemen or different from when you go to Saudi Arabia. But when it comes to the standard Arabic, everyone agrees on it and everyone understands it. But when you try to tell people, come on, let's speak the standard Arabic, the one our ancestors spoke, everyone will stop at some level.
Mm.
Mhm.
So Arabic is a very difficult language, and with a very difficult sounds like we go ra, kha, a, da. These things to have them in your language and then learn another language where you don't have them, you think the other language like the English is gonna be easier, but you keep trying to put them there, which is makes it very difficult. It makes it very difficult because one way or another you want to go back to your original sounds. You want to go back
Right.
to use your throat. You want to go back to use your lungs. You want to use the air to push the air out of your lungs. But in English, it's mostly about the tongue and the lips.
That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah, so it's easier to pronounce for the English, like than having more effort with the for 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 normal words. But somehow Arabic speakers would say it's a challenge. Why don't they have the sound ah? I like the sound ah. I'm used to it. Well there, there is the sound ah, and he would say no. This is like not that strong for me.
Yeah,
Why would
yeah,
you want it to be strong? So they will start searching for the strong sound because they are used to it. Especially if you notice the Bedouin side of the Arabic speakers. These people who spend most of their lives in the desert and they have this thick Arabic. How are you? How are you? How? So it's like the countryside
Mm,
in the US
mm-hmm.
here. I know sometimes you as English speakers, when someone speaks the country slang, you would say, "What? What did you say?"
Oh yeah.
So It's the
Still,
same
all the
thing for
time.
us. Yeah, it's the same thing for us Arabic speakers when someone in the Bedouin side speaks. But his language is the prestigious one. His language is the one that is closer to the ancestors' language.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's why it's found difficult. I'm so sorry for making it long. Like
No,
maybe
that's
I got
it's
too many. I got
it's
too many points.
it's very interesting though. So talking about those sounds and saying that we're not going to make, we don't make them in English, for example, the
Mhm.
has and the, these
Ba,
deeper,
ba,
yeah,
ein.
Yeah,
right.
I can't. I still can't.
And
yeah, ha, ba.
one of the things I imagine it's kind of hard to convey. It feels a little bit like culturally insensitive to say this, but I want to kind of get the point out, which is that to an American, maybe that sound is like the sound of coughing or the sound
Yeah.
of like trying to get something out of your
Mm-hmm.
throat, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's almost, I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but it almost sounds like a gross sound or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something like that,
I
right?
would
And
say
so
I would classify for me, like for my ears, it's when I think of trying to make those sounds, it's harsher.
yeah,
When I think I
yeah.
need to
It
sound
it
harsher,
it
I need to
takes
sound
it takes too much effort when you think about it as an English native
for
speaker.
American.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you would say, whoa, why would you do this? Like I was teaching one of my colleagues how to say how are you in Arabic. It says كيف حالك. So when he was trying to pronounce it, he said كيف خالك instead of حالك. He said خالك.
Uh,
And for us, the word, the
Sounding the
word,
same to us.
yeah, but the word خالك in Arabic, it means your uncle. So instead of asking me how are you, he was asking me
how's
how
your
is your uncle.
You're like, I think he's
Yeah,
okay.
instead.
So this is really interesting. And then I think the kind of understanding these points deeply in the way that you do, it seems like I mean, clearly, just in the conversation, we're able to find that you're able to make things relevant. But like when you're talking to, actually, I kind of want to turn this around a little bit, because you'll get also Westerners, American or British teachers coming to a place like Jordan and trying to connect with their students. What are some of the things, and I'm not sure if you've experienced this, but what are the things some things that you would tell those teachers, like, hey, these are ways to connect with students, these are ways to make to help them move maybe in ways that you wouldn't do with students from other places but you would do here? Do you have any kind of insights in
Yeah,
that area?
well, maybe one of the most important things to tell these kind of teachers is to slow down
Mm,
because, like in English, there's a lot of linking used. I'm gonna, I wanna, I ain't, I gonna. So, in for us, when we study English, we study the English from the book, from the alphabet, from the words. We are not in that level like for students who are in Jordan or in an Arabic country, they're not in a level that they can catch up very easily because
Mhm.
you are receiving the language, you are processing in your mind, and also in your mind you are translating. You are trying to understand. Like it takes seconds, but these seconds, when they accumulate, there will be a delay. There will be like you will come to a point after 3 or 4 minutes when a native speaker is talking and he speaks normally as he speaks in the US maybe or in Britain or any speaking English speaking country. The Arabic speaker, like definitely 100%, they will raise their hand and say, please, can you just slow down for a little bit? Even if we have a big amount of vocabulary, even if if we understand everything he speaks, but we want to listen in order to understand, not just
mm,
take the ideas, like the big ideas. Yeah, I know if we had a topic about, let's say, climate change, everything he's going to say in English, I will anticipate or I will say in Arabic as
mm,
student because it's common idea. It's something that is written in Google. This affects this. This leads to this. This leads to this. So, but I want to listen to his language and understand what he really said, not what I just can learn from Google or what he just can learn from Google. So slowing down is a very good thing that the English teachers who go to Arab country need to keep in mind.
So we have quite a lot of wisdom from you. Be the brightest star. Keep going. Break glass walls. And now I'm curious. Also, maybe I'm wondering. So one, at least in my classes, I always talk about engaging students through. I tend to use a lot of technology or just
Mhm.
different ways to get them to out of the rhythm of do the exercise in the book. And I'm
Mm.
wondering if you have used any type of technology that you found effective, especially for your Arabic speaking students, or if you have found other ways of switching things up so that they are
Like the ones we used in the classroom.
anything that you've found successful. Another way to put a twist in the
Yeah,
lesson, not necessarily tech, but anything that you
yeah.
found useful.
So it's always useful to have a smart board in a classroom, an interactive smart board when you can touch the screen and be near to it and make zoom with your hands and zoom in and zoom out with your own hands, because that way the mind is interested in this thing and wants to know more about this thing. And once I want to know more about how to use the smartboard, I'm learning the language during the process. And also one of the greatest tools you taught me about, and I will be always thankful for it, which is Canva. I never knew about Canva before. I always used Microsoft PowerPoint. It took me so much time and effort, like to go to Google, take the pictures, then put them in my PowerPoint. Then there, it's not JPG, it's another format. But in Canva, everything is there, and it's very easy and very interactive to use. So that is something I would like to take back home with me to my classroom. I would like to use it, and I would like my students to see it and interact with it, and know that there are some other tools, and also the ChatGPT. We all know that ChatGPT has ups and downs. So what Miss Ishel did, that she introduced us to the ups and the good way to use ChatGPT instead of always using it to look up information, just to make things easier for yourself as a student. Because a student, they know ChatGPT has everything and they can do it for you without having to do any effort or any extra effort. But she told us that when you go to ChatGPT and you start asking questions in details, ChatGPT actually can give you more details. And ChatGPT can lead you as an instructor or as a teacher of language to how to create lesson plans, how to be successful with managing the time of your lesson in the classroom. So as students, we had a lot of information, a lot of input. It was very powerful, and it was something that all of us, like my colleague from Colombia, my colleague from Tanzania, me myself from Jordan, my other colleague, and all of us in Belgium, we will take it back home and we will apply it, of course. I know there are some different situations between of us, like someone who's in an African country, maybe you don't have that access that another one who's like in Italy or in Bangkok or in Japan have to technology. But at least they have seen it with their own eyes and they have witnessed what technology can bring to the classroom and what interaction can bring to the classroom. Even if you have a big classroom of 40 students, you can manage to make these 40 students do something and not notice the time and stop for a while when you tell them, okay, time is up, and they will say, no, we want to continue. What happened? Because they really enjoyed their time, even if they were like 40 or 30 students, not just five or six.
That's kind of a cool place, I think, to maybe wrap it up. I love that you found those useful. Brent and I constantly talk about ChatGPT and how to incorporate it into our classes and what else we can do and how can we push it. So I'm really glad
Yeah, it's good.
to
I
hear.
promise you, Miss Ishel, I'm not gonna use it when I go for my master's degree. I will just I do
um,
the research myself.
excellent.
Yeah, so I feel like we could keep on going, but
Hmm.
this is a good place to pause for now, and maybe we'll continue another time. But let's shift over to fun finds.
All right, it is time for our fun finds, and I have found that Brent, have you heard of Herbawi?
No.
Herbawi makes Palestinian scarves. They started in 1961,
Hmm.
and one of the current items that people want to use to support their friends is the kufia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is very hard to find one right now, of course, and it's very hard to find one that was not made in China or it's that people are just sort of selling you one. But you can actually buy a woven Palestinian scarf from herbawiyusa.com. It's now available in the States and it wasn't before. You might be waiting for a while, but it's a legitimate item. So
Okay. Awesome. And that's the with like the pattern sewn into it and
yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and they have all sorts of colors. So I mean, they're beautiful. So
Very
you can
cool.
get your hands on one with that Christmas money you probably got.
So I am going to share a meal that I had while we were
Mm-hmm.
traveling back from Yamanashi. We stopped in Yamanashi. So as you know, in Japan, there's all these different like localized foods, right? Like it's like food you can
Mm-hmm.
only get in this area.
The
And
city.
so,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so I had hoto, which is a,
Hoto.
yeah, hoto. And it's like a flat udon noodles, and I don't usually like udon that much, but these are like flat udon noodles, so this very
Mm-hmm.
thick. And then it was like in a miso pumpkin soup base, and it was so good, and it was really great in the cold, So we
Hoto.
were in
Yeah.
the cold weather and everything, but it was this very traditional restaurant we went to that had like all the like you're sitting on the floor type of thing in a big kind
Mm-hmm.
of dining hall area. And it was just outstanding. So if you're ever in Yamanashi area
Hoto.
and maybe the surrounding areas too, but
Mm-hmm.
Hoto, it was an excellent meal. And I'd never had it in Japan before, so it was great.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Hoto. All right. Polaris, what do you have for us?
For me, I have a Facebook page for a YouTube page. It's a Jordanian traveler. His name is Joe Hattab. I don't know him in person, but I really always like to see his videos because he's a traveler who goes around the whole world and try to explore the cultures and the places. And most, like 90% of his videos have English subtitles, or even he speaks in English in his videos because English is the international language that most of the countries can speak. So he goes very deep in the culture where he goes, and he also you will find his videos with a very interesting titles like the giant. Here I have the giant car in Egypt, and they have like the most famous cook in the world. She's from
Mm,
Lebanon, and he has also. I arrived the uh, to the furthest place where the tribes of Akli they live. So you will get a
yeah.
task. They have like the most dangerous animals in the world.
Mm.
Who are the people who can steal honey and no one knows about them?
Hmm.
And like a Pakistani man who is the strongest man in the world, the the fastest man in the world that has no legs. That's one of his videos.
Wow. Okay.
So
So real
he goes,
explorer.
yeah,
Yeah, that
he
is real
goes
explorer.
around the world, and he starts like to explore the place that he is in a very unique way. And his cameraman is very good, actually. Like the way they shoot the videos and the way they go around, it's very good and very interesting. I would like you guys and people who are listening to just go and see some of Joe Hattab videos. He's a very good.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Joe Hattab, that's JoeHattab, and we'll put that also in the show notes, of
Yes.
course, too.
All right. Well, we are on YouTube. That's where we've been mostly responding to lots of comments. We're getting more feedback there. You can share the show, buy us a coffee, support us through Patreon, leave a review, or give us a shout out. You could win a one-of-a-kind Diesel pin. We are Diesel Pod on all those platforms.
Yeah. You can find the show notes for this episode at diesol.org/97. And you can listen to us at VoiceEd Canada. And we're on pretty much all the podcasting platforms. So go ahead and find. And I guess our we're still in January. Our New Year's wish request is to share the show a little bit, share it with someone who might enjoy it. Who might benefit from it. But yeah, we're out there on social media. The show is at DieselPod, so we're on Threads now. Ixchell, did I tell you that? We're on Threads. I think
We
I
are on
told you.
Threads. I'm still not on Threads. I'm
You're
not
not
on
on
Threads
Threads.
yet, and I'm not on Threads.
You're not on Threads. You're on Blue Sky. I'm on
Blue Sky.
Threads and kind of on Blue Sky. And anyways, I met Brent G. Warner. Some of the show, we're still trying to sort things out. It's just a lot of work to be on all these platforms. So at DieselPod, if we're there. Ixchell, where are you?
I'm still at Ixy_Pixie. That's IXY_PIXY, and whatever platform you can find me on. But YouTube, I right now I'm YouTubing.
Awesome. And Polaris, is there a way for people to find you?
If they want to talk to you or share anything or ask.
Yes, sir. I'm on social media on Facebook as Abu Noor's School, and I don't have a YouTube page. I used to in Corona when we made like awareness videos about the Corona pandemic. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on WhatsApp, and I'm up in the sky. If you look up and you see the brightest star, I'm right there.
The brightest star, that is Polaris.
That's great.
Yes, sir. Thank you in Arabic is shukran. In Jordanian Arabic we have more than 10 expressions. حبيب الله يسعدك، ما قصرت، تسلم يا غالي، مشكور يا حبيب, and many others. تسلموا يا غوالي for tuning in the Diesel podcast. شكرا جزيلا.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.